I will say this. I'm not happy with what I'm seeing from a lot of politicians in Washington, D.C. So right here, this is Hakeem Jeffries coming right out of a press conference, by the way. Right out of a press conference, and Lawler is just waiting for him. Have a listen to this exchange.
Your extension. Why don't we sign on right now?
Let me ask you a question. Did you get permission from your boss?
Why don't we sign on right now?
Did your boss, Donald Trump?
You can easily extend
Did
the ACA right now.
Did your boss, Donald Trump,
give you...
He's not my boss.
Yes, he is. No, he's not. By the way,
so let me ask you a
why
question.
did you vote to shut the government down? Why did you vote to shut it down?
Let me ask you a question.
For years, you always lectured about how we need to keep the government open.
You're making a show of this to make yourself relevant.
It's sad. You could easily sign on to this.
You're embarrassing yourself right now.
You could sign on to this. The only
You're
embarrassing here
chasing clout. You're an embarrassment.
You could sign on to the bill.
Let me ask you a question.
You have 4 Democrats on here.
Let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a question.
It's a clean extension for 1 year.
You voted for the one big ugly bill, correct?
I voted for a tax cut bill that gave the largest tax cut to Americans in history, including, by the way, the average New Yorker getting a $4,000 tax cut. Are you against that?
You're embarrassing yourself right now.
Do you want to cut the standard deduction in half?
The largest cut to Medicaid in American history. You voted for that.
Fraud and abuse, by the way.
You voted
Tom DiNapoli, the
for a
Democratic controller of New York,
let me ask you a question.
Pointed out that $1.2 billion were wasted.
Listen, you're not going to talk. You're not going to talk to me. You're not going to talk to me and talk over me because you don't want to hear what I have to say.
Oh, I'm listening.
So why don't you just keep your mouth shut?
Oh,
because you showed up. You showed up.
Yeah.
And so you voted for this one big ugly bill.
You can extend it right now.
A permanent extension of massive tax breaks for your billionaire donors.
So 90% of Americans...
So they can get a permanent...
All right, so my initial reaction was sadness after watching that exchange. I understand that Lawler was there to put on a show for the cameras. I am not the biggest Hakeem Jeffries fan. I think he's a decent man. He's a very educated, intelligent man. I've said that he's probably the wrong guy for this job. I'm going to criticize both sides, and the reason why I was sad, Leonard, watching this, is because I said to myself, is this where we're at as a country now? Where you have the left and the right just yelling at each other, calling each other names, no matter how frustrated you might be with one another.
And political theater when important decisions need to be made, not political theater.
That was political theater. I agree with you. Now, Lawler, my criticism is, first of all, you were just there for a charade, and as Leonard just said, which I agree with, political theater. But if you're Hakeem Jeffries, why engage like that? Why not say, Mr. Lawler, if you'd like to speak to me in my office now behind closed doors and have a civil conversation, we can do that. I'm not going to shout at you and have a debate with you in front of the media after one of my press conferences. He also didn't do that. Now, listen, I don't think Hakeem Jeffries is a bad guy. I don't think he's phony. I do think Lawler is. But it makes me sad to watch that because, like, did you ever see, like, John McCain talk to somebody that way?
But
did you ever see Barack Obama or even George Bush Sr.? Like, it's like we could disagree with one another. What good is it to yell at somebody like that? I'm a radio host, okay? I'm not an elected official. I could tell you if I was an elected official, I wouldn't talk to my opposition that way. On both sides. And it just got me really sad as an American because I'm like, what the hell is going on, Leonard?
Well, two things. I think Hakeem Jeffries is feeling the pressure of some Democrats who want them to stand up to Republicans. That's kind of the theme. So what my impression was when he walked out, he wants to make sure he looks like a tough guy and you can't speak over me. And I get that. But that, in my opinion, Brian, that is not what Democrats and independents want. What they want is policy. What they want is written law. What they want is substantive committees to get together and come out of that committee with a plan for the Democrats and a plan. And I've talked to you about Hakeem Jeffries many times. He's probably one of the best orators out there. He gives a great speech. But at the end of it, you're thinking, okay, okay, that was a great speech. So what's the plan? Like, what's the plan to lead? That's like me as a police lieutenant showing up at a scene and telling everybody, okay, guys, we gotta hold these criminals accountable. You know, we gotta make sure that we do the right thing and we gotta stick together. Because let me just finish. The guys would be like, okay, that's great, LT, but what's the plan? You see what I'm saying?
Yes,
like
I do.
You can speak in superlatives all you want,
but you agree with me though that, you know, there's people in the chat that are saying, well, Hakeem Jeffries doesn't have to be nice. And Hakeem Jeffries...
That's not what you're saying.
I'm not saying Hakeem Jeffries has to be nice. There's a difference between being nice and doing something behind closed doors. If you want to yell at Lawler and you want to have that sort of conversation, do it behind closed doors. It makes both of you look bad, and it's unprofessional to do it in front of the cameras. Clearly, Lawler does not want to have that conversation behind closed doors. Lawler's not a serious person.
There's
He's
no
a phony,
value.
okay?
No value behind
So
closed doors
all you say is,
for him.
Mr. Lawler, if you'd like to have a conversation with me in my office without all these cameras around where we can have a discussion, let's do it. If not, I'm not interested in talking to you. What does that accomplish? Number one, Lawler doesn't get his moment in front of the cameras. And number two, you don't look bad. I'm sorry, folks. I call it as I see it. They both look bad there. Okay? They both look bad. Yes, did Lawler initiate? Yes. Was Lawler trying to get that moment? Yes. Jeffries wasn't seeking him out. I understand that. Yes.
But Lawler also, he didn't lie, but he said, do you want to take away $4,000 in tax breaks from the people of New York City? And what he's saying is there's an extension. It's simply an extension that's in it for the minimum deductions. It is not a tax break. So what he's doing is he's saying, you know, he's kind of fantasizing about how this could be a big moment. And I think Lawler missed by a mile.
Look, if there's people out there that disagree with me, that's fine. I'm not saying what Hakeem Jeffries was an abomination. What I am saying is it's not going to accomplish anything. And I think both parties know that. And I think it's a bad look for the country. You need to have those conversations in private. And hopefully, why are you having these conversations? To try to iron out any differences that you might have. Now, listen, I don't have a lot of faith right now. All I'm saying is I'm very sad that that is where we are at as a country. I'm a radio talk show host, okay? I'm not an elected official. If you're an elected official, you're supposed to represent all of your constituents, not just one side of the aisle. And I don't think that was done well on both sides. And I think if Hakeem Jeffries wanted to say a few quick things, go ahead and then walk away. I thought the longer he stood there, the worse it was. Lawler is a complete clown.
All he
I
had
know
to
that.
do was say, Republicans, shut down the government. Do you agree? Do you disagree? And here's why. I think it would have been a well-taken point if Hakeem Jeffries would have said that at that point, instead of trying to push back and argue and what about this?
So
and
you
what
agree
about
with
that?
me. So this is what
Well, I don't think it moved the needle.
doesn't
Ryan.
accomplish
I don't think it
anything.
advanced
Right.
the ball.
That's what I care about. Moving the needle, accomplishing something. So this was Hakeem Jeffries on my friend Joanna Carducci's podcast today when asked about this, and I'm not sure he made the situation any better, but here's what Hakeem Jeffries had to say.
House Democratic leadership, we just held a press conference demanding that Republicans show up for work, return from vacation, stop canceling votes, swear in Representative-elect Adelita Grajava, and do something, most importantly, to address the Republican healthcare crisis that's devastating people all across the country. So we conclude this press conference, and I hear that Mike Lawler, who's a complete and total fraud, is waiting outside to step to me. I think some of my team would have probably preferred that I just ignore him, but I'm like, you know what? I'm not the one. Don't come for me unless I send for you. And I did not send for this malignant clown. I think he thought he was confronting Beltway Hakeem, but he saw Brooklyn Hakeem.
So
Yeah, and I kind of get that, but
I get what he's saying, but it didn't accomplish anything other than ego. Here's what I'm concerned about right now, and we're going to get into this. I'm concerned about our brave men and women in uniform that are not getting paid. I'm concerned about everybody that is not getting a paycheck right now, the people that this is actually hurting. And the only point that I am trying to make here is that Lawler and Hakeem Jeffries yelling at each other in front of the cameras is not going to accomplish anything. What will accomplish something? Keep pushing the Republicans and explaining your side.
Yes, I agree.
And Republicans can continue to lie and say that this is the fault of the Democrats. But the point being, you have to send the message to the American people. And there are times that Hakeem Jeffries is doing that, and then there are times that he's not doing it very well. And calling him a clown, yes, I understand. I agree, Mr. Jeffries. Lawler is a clown. I agree with you. But that's not going to move the needle, as Leonard says. And my issue and my concern are with the people out there that are not getting paychecks, that are suffering right now.